SCP-173 for testing. There seems to be a problem with the door control system. The door isn't responding to any of our attempts to close it. So please maintain direct eye contact with SCP-173
SCP-173. His cost is 1730, speed 3 through 50, stamina infinite, and does 80 damage. It's pretty hard to get past the only moves when you blink thing. SCP-173 is an SCP from the SCP universe. If you haven't heard of it before, I'd be surprised. It's like a weeping angel, it only moves if it's not looked at. It's extremely fast and is extremely strong, snapping the neck of anybody that doesn't look at it. It's made of a strong stone-like material and is said to have its own conscience. Passive 1. Blink. Survivors will constantly blink every 5 seconds, making their screen go black for half of a second. Clarity does not affect this. Passive 2. Stone speed. While a survivor is looking at you in your chase radius, you can only move at 3 speed. While no survivor is looking directly within your chase radius, you move at 50 speed. You make very light noise, which is like stone scraping across the ground. The closer you are to a survivor, the quieter the noise you make, but it won't disappear entirely. Passive 3. Security. 3 different items will spawn on the map: a paper bag, a steel rope, and a quarantine mask. This is used for security breach. For his M1, SCP-173 will swing his hand a bit forward and deal 80 damage to anyone hit. His hitbox is much like Beta Mimic's. Impossible speed. You leave a clone of where you last used the ability, and the clone will move towards the closest player. It will act the same as you, moving at 50 speed unless looked at, then moving at 3, but it will not attack anyone. While your clone is out, you move at 50 speed and cannot be seen by any other survivors until you exit the ability or using M1, dealing 45 damage to anybody hit. All that is visible of you while you use this is your ambiance, which stays normal and doesn't get more quiet the closer you are to a survivor. It has a 15-second cooldown. Number 2. Security breach. There are 4 different scenarios that can happen, each with a 25% chance of happening. When used, a separate monster will spawn on a random objective in the map and target the closest player. Each lasts for 30 seconds, and each has a 30-second cooldown. SCP-096. When spawned, he will walk around and is passive unless looked at directly. If a player looks at him, he will start to screaming for around 7 seconds, before he charges, running at a sprint speed of 22, but he doesn't run out of stamina. He will be in this running phase for 10 seconds. He does 25 damage per hit, and he hits at a normal rate. He will only target the player that has looked at him, but after he has killed the player that has looked at him, or his aggro runs out of the 10 seconds. If anyone else has looked at him while he was aggroed, he will target them next. If a player has a paper bag while he's charging or passive, if the player holds E on him like a task, it will put the paper bag on his head. He will remain passive until summoned again. Once he disappears after 30 seconds, the paper bag is dropped on the ground where he last stood. SCP-682. When spawned, he will immediately enter aggro and charge at the closest player. He is very large, but wide enough for him to fit through doors, but he has to charge at them almost directly. Basically, his charge is exactly like a Silly Rush. He charges directly forward where he's facing about the same distance as Silly Rush, but he only moves like that, and if he hits a wall, he'll have 3 seconds done. Meaning he'll have to charge again after he misses. He will always target the player with the most health around him. If he lands his charge, he deals 80 damage. He will only attack the same person he's hit if they're the only person close to him. If a player has the steel rope, they can hold E on him while he's recovering from the charge and tie it around him. If this happens, he cannot move for the rest of 30 seconds. Like SCP-096, where he disappears, the rope will drop at where he last was. SCP-049. The Plague Doctor will only walk but aggro on the closest player. He makes pretty loud noise cues so you'll almost always realize he's coming, but he one-shots you with his touch if he manages to hit you. The only way I can imagine this happening is if he somehow caught you around a corner and you didn't hear him yelling, "I am the cure!" Not like that, you know, "I am the cure." But I mean, it's pretty freaking loud, so you'd have to be a real big idiot. SCP-999. He will walk around and heal players for 40 health max. That's all he does. He's chill. Now, here's the fun part of this. If a player has bought a mask, whenever they place a mask, they get a slight reskin, making them look a bit more like SCP-035, and they actually get stamina. Their walk speed stays the same, but they can sprint at a sprint speed of 20, and they have 20 stamina. The whole reason I gave him that multi-monster ability is because if there were like a lot of players all on him, he wouldn't be able to really do anything. His other 2 abilities allow him to attack multiple people at once, so while he's focused on one player, he has another version of himself, or other SCPs dealing with other survivors. Basically, he's a multi-monster needing to sneak up on players and be able to know how to deal with multiple people at once. Because of security breach, he doesn't have a lot of time. For monster, I'd say trying to take out lone survivals would be your best bet. Because if people are staying together, leaving your clone for them to watch and going after another person would be a good option. Using your security breach constantly would be vital as well. For survivor, group up if you can, because hopefully your blink times are differently synced. Also, knowing noises and what the other SCPs do would be vital. Listening for crying from SCP-096, roaring from SCP-682, and voice lines from SCP-079 would be extremely helpful for your survival. Also, try to find the items that can pacify other SCPs if you can.